Coming live from the studio, this is All Sports with Gerardo. Thank you for watching another episode of All Sports. This is your host Gerardo, and all I talk is sports. On the show today, I am going to talk about the coronavirus in NBA basketball. Before I start the show, I hope you all had a great week. To start off, at the middle every month, I post a video or talk about one stadium I went to. So stay tuned for future videos from stadiums across the US. For the month of May, I posted a video where I talked about PNC Park and my experience there. You can go watch that video on YouTube. You can also view videos from the past and subscribe to my YouTube page at All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to the coronavirus. The return of sports. We have seen the return of baseball in Korea, the return of soccer in Europe, the return of golf and NASCAR here in the US. We have started to see the return of sports here in the US and in other countries around the world. Also with the return of sports, we have also seen no fans in the stands. So as we're seeing the return of sports happening around the world, and it started in other countries and now it's making its way to the US. Here are a few questions that need to be answered, whether they're answered now, in the next few weeks, or in the next few months, but hopefully there will be an answer to all of these questions that I'm going to list. So to start off with the return of sports, we've already started to see that. And it's just starting to happen here in the US. And with the return of sports, we started seeing that happening in other countries around the world. Korea was the first country with the return of baseball. We're also seeing the return of soccer in European countries. Now in the US, we are starting to see the return of sports, mainly sporting events that are a single day event or they just last over the course of a few days. So far, here in the US, as of this week, we have seen the return of sports with golf and with a NASCAR event. In Europe, we have seen the return of sports, which is soccer. And in Korea, we have seen the return of sports, which is baseball. So as of right now, in Korea, they started their baseball season. In Europe, soccer's starting to return. And here in the US, we are starting to see sports return. But so far, it's sporting events like NASCAR that just happened. And we have also seen golf. Also, another question, the return of sporting events. Well, we're starting to see that here in the US. We just seen that with NASCAR not too long ago. Also with golf. And with those two sporting events starting to happen, as of right now, it was announced that the horse racing events will return. So that's possibly going to be the next sporting event here in the US that will return. We'll have the Triple Crown events, which includes the Kentucky Derby. In every May, the Kentucky Derby happens, the first Saturday of every May. But unfortunately, that did not happen in 2020. But the Kentucky Derby, like the Triple Crown events, which includes horse racing events, are still going to happen. They're just going to happen at a later time. And the Kentucky Derby will still happen. It will be later on this year, and it will be this fall. So I'm glad to see that another sporting event's going to return here in the US, which will be horse racing. The return of leagues. That's another question that has to be answered. We've seen leagues return in other countries, but we haven't seen it return here in the US. We've seen Korea baseball start in Korea. We've seen soccer start in Europe, we have not seen any leagues start or continue their season here in the US, and we're going to have to wait and see when that happens, especially here in the US. Right now, the NFL is in their off season. Even though the NFL is in their off season, the coronavirus is still affecting the off-season events and programs, and it could possibly affect the 2020 season. We're going to have to wait and see how the coronavirus will or will not impact the NFL season, but it's definitely impacting the off-season. Major League Baseball, we're going to have to wait and see if there is a 2020 Major League Baseball season. As of right now, nobody knows if there will be a 2020 season, and if there is, no one really knows when it could possibly start. But as of right now, a proposal has been put in place for a possible 2020 Major League Baseball season, which would possibly start on July 4th weekend, and spring training would start towards the middle of June, and the 2020 season would start in July. If Major League Baseball gets to pull off a 2020 Major League Baseball season, it's definitely going to look completely different compared to previous seasons. So as of right now, Major League Baseball has thrown the proposal of playing half a season, which would be an 82-game season. And we're going to have to wait and see if that proposal is approved. And if it is, then there is a possibility Major League Baseball will have a 2020 season. But it's still a 50-50. And it's not a guarantee. If a 2020 Major League Baseball season happens to be played, or happens to even begin, it's all going to come down to money, but also the health of all individuals in Major League Baseball, which includes the organizations, the players, the coaches, and the personnel for all 30 Major League Baseball teams. So we will have to wait and see if that proposal is approved and if there will be a 2020 season. But if there is a season, it will look completely different, especially when the season is played and the way the season would be formatted. And if there is a 2020 season, I will let you know if Major League Baseball or any other league happens to have a new season that is played, or if they can continue the season they were currently playing. But if any season in any league happens to play, I will update you about the status of every league or every sporting event. And if any league can pull off a season by either starting a season or resuming a season, or even if sporting events can occur, I will make sure to update you about it and about the status of every league or sporting event. Because if these leagues or sporting events happen to pull off a season by starting it, resuming it, or sporting events happen to pull off being able to do a sporting event, I will update you about it, because the format of that season or sporting event is definitely going to look completely different because of this coronavirus pandemic. So we're going to have to wait and see if any more sporting events or leagues can have sporting events start or continue the season that they were in. Also, leagues like the NBA, the NHL, and other leagues that were currently in the season, they've also thrown a proposal for how or when they can begin and resume the season they were currently playing. So we're going to have to wait and see if that can also happen. But for example, if the NBA and the NHL happens to resume the season they were currently in, they've thrown proposals about it because there is the possibility that if those leagues can resume their season, they're going to have to choose a neutral site in a particular city where a season like the NBA or the NHL that was currently playing their season can resume. And if they have to pick a neutral site, it would likely be one city where all the teams would go to, and where all the teams can go and play at a particular arena and resume the season and play the rest of the season that they should currently be playing right now. But if that's not the case for the NBA, the NHL, or other leagues that were currently in their season, then they're likely going to cancel the season they were supposed to be currently playing right now, and they're just going to move on to the next season. And if that's the case, there is the possibility that the next season may not start the day and month that it's supposed to, especially if it's the NBA and the NHL. There is the possibility that they may delay the start next season, closer to the end of this year or even the beginning of next year. But it's all going to come down to if leagues like the NBA and the NHL can resume their season. And even if they don't resume their season and they cancel the season they were currently playing, there could still be a possible delay to the start of next season. But if they do resume the season they were currently playing, there is a great chance that next season will likely be delayed, because you do not want this season and the next season to overlap with each other. And if this season can be resumed, and you know it's going to go into the next few months, you still want a little break between the end of this season and the beginning of next season. You do not want this season and the next season to overlap with each other. Even though that this break that everyone's been having for the last 2 months has been a long break for the last few weeks, this is not a scheduled break if it was a normal season. Because as of right now, it should be the playoffs. But instead, because of the coronavirus pandemic, it's been a long break that would never be scheduled if it was a normal season. And if it was a normal season, it would currently be the playoffs right now, and then you would have the scheduled off season, just like it always is every other season. But that's not going to be the case this year. And if this season resumes, it's definitely going to continue into the next few months. And when this season were to end, if it happens to resume and it doesn't get canceled, you still want a break in between the end of this season and the beginning of next season, even though everyone's been getting a break for the last 2 months. And you definitely don't want this season and next season to overlap. You definitely need a break in between, even though this year it will not be a long break in between both seasons. So we're going to have to wait and see if leagues like the NBA and the NHL can resume the season they should have been currently playing right now. It's really a 50-50 chance that they resume this season or cancel this season. But if they do resume this season, there's definitely going to be a lot of changes for the next few months, for the rest of the regular season, but especially for the playoffs and for the off season they would have in between the end of this season and the beginning of next season. But there is also a chance that these leagues will just cancel this season that should have been currently playing right now because they do not want it to overlap into the next season. And these leagues need to do their off-season programs like the draft and free agency, and they also need the rest, and they also need to prepare for the next season. So we're going to have to wait and see what decision is made about this season resuming or this season being canceled. And depending on that, that will determine when next season will start and if there will be a delay to the start of next season. Regardless, if this season is continued and played till the end, or if this season gets canceled. But there could be a possible delay to the start of next season, regardless of this situation, especially because these leagues need to conduct all their off-season programs, but also get ready for the next season. Also, with the return of sports, we have seen no fans in the stands. This will be another question that has to be answered, but as of right now, when we've seen baseball return back in Korea, soccer return back in Europe, and sporting events return back here in the US, we have seen no fans in the stands. Also, as we see leagues and sporting events return back here in the US and around the world, you're going to continue to not see fans in the stands. And we're going to have to wait and see when fans can return back to the stands and attend games or sporting events. But as of right now, it's not going to be anytime soon. And it's going to be months. It could even be the end of this year or the beginning of next year until we see fans allowed back into stadiums or arenas. We'll have to wait and see when that is, and we'll also have to wait and see when the decision is made as to when fans can return back to the stands. But it's not going to be anytime soon. If people want to see sports return back and finally get to see sports on TV, then they're going to have to adjust to not seeing fans in stands or being allowed to go to stadiums or arenas. But the great thing about it is that we're finally seeing sports return back. Even though no one's allowed to go to stadiums or arenas, it's great to see that sports is returning back and that we can finally see something that's live on TV. No matter what league or sporting event it is, it's just great to see that sports is returning back. And at some point in the next few months, life will possibly get back to normal, but also fans will be allowed back into stadiums and arenas. But everyone's just glad to see that sports is returning back, no matter what country it is and no matter what sport it is. It's just great to see that sports is returning back. So going into the next few months, we're just going to have to wait and see when these 4 main questions that I just listed will be answered. But as of right now, we have seen some of these questions get answered. And we have seen answers to these questions. There's still many other questions that I did not list that need to be answered. But as of right now, we've seen the return of sports get answered. The return of sporting events get answered. We haven't really seen the return of leagues get answered. And we definitely have not seen the return of fans in the stands get answered. And some of these questions that I just listed may not have an answer for the next few months. So we're going to have to wait and see when these questions get answered. But as of right now, we have seen some of these questions get answered. And it's just great to see, no matter what league or sporting event it is, we're all just glad to see sports return. It's just great to see that sports is returning back, even though we can only watch it on TV and we can't go to stadiums or arenas. But it's great to see sports on TV and it's live sporting events or games. And it's not playbacks of games or sporting events that have happened in the past. Even though there has been a lot of great games and sporting events that have happened in the past. And it's great to rewatch those games or sporting events because they're classics and they're some of the best games or sporting events to ever happen. It's just not the same from seeing live sporting events or games take place. And I'm glad, no matter what country it is, no matter what sporting event it is, and no matter what league it is, it's just great to see that sports is returning back. And someday, our normal, everyday lives will also return. We're going to have to wait and see when that is. It's going to be a while, and it may be a few more months, but there will be that day, and I can't wait for that day, just like all of you can't wait for that day. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NBA. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NBA basketball. The 2020 NBA Hall of Fame inductees includes Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Kim Mulkey, Rudy Tomovich, Barbara Stevens, Tamara Catchings, Eddie Sutton, and Patrick Ewing. Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett will highlight the class of 2020. Kobe Bryant is a 5-time NBA champion from 2000 through 2002, in 2009, and in 2010. He is a 2-time NBA Finals MVP in 2009 and in 2010. He won NBA MVP in 2008. He is a 18-time NBA All-Star. He is a 11-time All-NBA First. He is a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, and he won an Oscar for Best Animated Short Film. Tim Duncan is a 5-time NBA champion in 1999, 2003, 2005, 2007, and in 2014. He is a 3-time NBA Finals MVP in 1999, 2003, and in 2005. He is a 2-time NBA MVP in 2002 and in 2003. He is a 15-time NBA All-Star. He is a 10-time All-NBA First Team. He is a 8-time All-NBA defensive first team, and he won NBA Rookie of the Year. Kevin Garnett won an NBA championship in 2008. He won NBA MVP in 2004. He is a 15-time NBA All-Star. He is a 4-time All-NBA First Team. He is a 9-time All-NBA Defensive First Team, and he won an Olympic gold medal. Kevin Garnett became the first NBA player to be drafted out of high school since 1975. In 1996, Kobe Bryant and Jermaine O'Neal were also drafted out of high school, and in 2001, 3 of the top 4 draft picks came straight out of high school. In 2005, the NBA adopted a rule requiring all draft entrants to be at least 19 years old or a year removed from the graduation of their high school class. The 6-year contract extension Kevin Garnett signed before his 3rd NBA season was the biggest pro contract in NBA history, and he was only 21 years old. In 1999, the CBA clearly reflected the concerns over Kevin Garnett's contract, and for the first time, they started including a maximum player salary and a 5-year rookie scale for the first time. And when Kevin Garnett retired, he made the most money during his NBA career, which was the most in NBA history. So those are your 2020 NBA Hall of Fame inductees. And the class of 2020 will definitely be highlighted by Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett. So I want to say congrats to the class of 2020 that is getting inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame. We're going to have to wait and see if the NBA Hall of Fame induction ceremony for the class of 2020 will still happen in the next few weeks. We're also going to have to wait and see if the NFL Hall of Fame induction ceremony for the class of 2020 will also happen in the next few weeks. And we're also going to have to wait and see if any other Hall of Fame induction ceremonies happen in the next few weeks or even happen this year, but especially the NFL and NBA Hall of Fame induction ceremony. As of right now, Major League Baseball announced that their class of 2020 Hall of Fame induction ceremony this July will not happen in Cooperstown due to the coronavirus pandemic. And they have moved the class of 2020 induction ceremony for the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown to July of 2021. So the class of 2020 and the class of 2021 for the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame that will be inducted into Cooperstown will happen in July of 2021, which is not a big deal for Major League Baseball because each class that gets inducted into Cooperstown is not a big class and it only has just a few individuals. In the class of 2020 that was going to get inducted into Cooperstown this year only has 2 individuals that are going to get inducted into Cooperstown. So it will not be a big deal to have 2 individuals be inducted with the class of 2021 in July of 2021. But we're going to have to wait and see if a league like the NBA and the NFL is going to postpone their Hall of Fame induction ceremony for their class of 2020 until 2021, just like Major League Baseball did. There is the possibility that the NBA and the NFL will have to follow the footsteps of Major League Baseball and postpone their Hall of Fame induction ceremony for their class of 2020 that's getting into the Hall of Fame. We're going to have to wait and see if the NBA and the NFL announce that they are postponing their Hall of Fame induction ceremony, just like Major League Baseball did. But as of right now, these two leagues have not said anything about postponing their Hall of Fame induction ceremony, but there is a great chance they will have to postpone the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, especially because a league like the NFL, especially, and even the NBA, has a big Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and they also have a big class that's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. And the coronavirus pandemic could likely affect these Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, just like it did with Major League Baseball. And if these two leagues happen to announce that they are postponing their Hall of Fame induction ceremony for their class of 2020, I will definitely update you and let you know about that. And we're just going to have to wait and see what these two leagues' decisions are, especially about their Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. But as of right now, I do want to congratulate the class of 2020 that is getting inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame, especially Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett. And there's no doubt that these three individuals will definitely highlight the class of 2020 that's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. And we're also seeing some of the best players to ever play in the NBA are getting inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame. And this includes Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett. In 2020 is their year that they're finally going to get inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame. There's no doubt that the type of career that Kobe Bryant had in the NBA and with the Lakers, there is no doubt that Kobe Bryant was going to be an NBA Hall of Famer. Especially after Kobe Bryant was one of the best players to ever play in the NBA. And he's definitely in the top 10 among all NBA players to ever play in the NBA. And he's definitely one of the best that has ever played in the NBA. And he's also one of the best players to ever play for the Lakers. So with Kobe Bryant playing his entire career with the Lakers, but also with the type of career that he had with the Lakers and in the NBA, there was no doubt that Kobe Bryant was going to be an NBA Hall of Famer once he retired. So I want to say congratulations on Kobe Bryant making it in to the NBA Hall of Fame. Tim Duncan, with the type of career that he had in the NBA and with the Spurs, there was no doubt that Tim Duncan was going to be an NBA Hall of Famer once he retired from the NBA, especially with the type of career that he had in the NBA with the Spurs. And he was also one of the best players to ever play for the Spurs. Kevin Garnett, he was one of the best players to ever play in the NBA, and he definitely had a great career in the NBA. The highlight of Kevin Garnett's career in the NBA was when he played for the Timberwolves, and also when he played for the Celtics. And when the Celtics had the big three, which included Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen, and when Kevin Garnett finally won an NBA championship. And with the way that Kevin Garnett made NBA history, while he was playing basketball on the court and even off the court, from the time he entered the NBA to the time he retired from the NBA, there was no doubt by the way Kevin Garnett made NBA history. But especially when Kevin Garnett was playing on the basketball court, there was a great chance that Kevin Garnett was going to be a future NBA Hall of Famer. And once Kevin Garnett retired from the NBA, there was no doubt that he was possibly going to be a future Hall of Famer. And with the class of 2020 finally being announced on who was going to be a part of the class of 2020 that was going to get inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame, there was no doubt that once Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan especially had their name on the Hall of Fame ballot, there was no doubt that they were going to be future Hall of Famers, but especially first ballot Hall of Famers, with the type of career that they had in the NBA and with their team. And they were also two of the best players to ever play in the NBA, especially Kobe Bryant. And there's no doubt that Kobe Bryant is ranked in the top 10, and you could even have him in the top 5 as being one of the best players to ever play in the NBA. So the class of 2020 for the NBA Hall of Fame will definitely be highlighted by Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett. But also, it will be highlighted by Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan because there was no doubt by the type of career they had in the NBA that they were going to be first ballot Hall of Famers. And 2020 is finally the year that Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and Kevin Garnett finally made it into the NBA Hall of Fame. And there was no doubt that they were going to be Hall of Famers once they were eligible. So I want to say congrats to the class of 2020 that is going to get inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the end of the show. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now, on the next show, I will talk about the coronavirus and NFL football. I hope you all have a great week. Tune in to the next All Sports with Gerardo show next week. I want to say thank you to everybody that listens to All Sports. Subscribe or like my pages on social media at All Sports with Gerardo. Until next time, this is Gerardo.